Continuing from the previous episode 838. 1-inch arrogant. This was a star field. Even Sang Yu didn't have the ability to say such words. Who do you think you are? The Red Dragon's spiritual master's voice was cold as he looked around and said, everyone, the 5 monarch flames are in his body. Whether or not you want them depends on everyone. Sang Yu, as the tyrant heavenly king body, can only leave the star field with his tail between his legs. You are just a mortal body, and you are lucky to have 5 monarch flames. What kind of storm can you create? The yellow-robed elder stared at Xiao Yan. In the next moment, he suddenly waved his hand. The origin chi between heaven and earth howled and turned into a huge palm that ripped apart the sky. His 5 fingers were like a huge pillar that supported the sky, and he was about to grab the flaming giant. The moment the yellow-robed elder attacked, the rest of the people attacked at the same time. They were not hot-blooded young men. Although each of them had ulterior motives, at present, if they did not attack together, they would definitely not be a match for Xiao Yan. In an instant, the wind and clouds in the sky changed. The clear sky seemed to be enveloped by a black veil, and the sound of wind and lightning exploded in all directions. The origin chi was like a myriad of strands of multicolored light that surged, and the heavens and the earth shook. It carried Xiao Yan within it, and it was like the end of the world had collapsed. The flame giant held the fire blade in his hand and roared towards the sky. However, under the attack of several holy arts, the ground cracked inch by inch, and the sky was covered by it. Xiao Yan's eyes shone with a cold light, and the flames in front of him roared. A cold smile appeared on his face. With his strength alone, he is able to withstand the attacks of so many powerful warriors. Does this guy really have that kind of strength? Or is he a fool because of his hot-headedness? 1,000 miles away, the old man who had thrown the firestone to Xiao Yan was standing on a lone peak. He looked at the scene of the battle in the distance. Even he was frightened. Under the suppression of so many powerful attacks, only the heavenly sovereign expert, who had reached the heavenly Dharma level, could use the power of space to retreat in one piece. Regardless of whether you are alive or dead, you will not be able to find me in the future. If you are dead, I will fulfill the wish of this group of fellows. If you are able to come out alive. He. As he spoke, the old man let out a cold laugh. His body flashed as he rushed into the distance. If you are still alive, come to Middle Domain. That place is enough for you to do whatever you want. Quote. Rumble. The heaven and earth seemed to be on the verge of collapsing. The huge body of the flaming giant completely dissipated, and the endless pressure was extinguished. Everyone was delighted in their hearts, but none of them dared to be careless. The yellow-robed elder's eyes were cold as he looked at the apocalyptic scene in front of him. He waited for a long time, but Xiao Yan still didn't appear. Gritting his teeth, he prepared to move forward. As an ancient stage alchemist, the other 2 had already gotten their hands on the monarch flame. Naturally, he couldn't help but feel an itch in his heart. He wished that he could just snatch the monarch flame from Xiao Yan's body. Stop! The expression of the middle-aged man in the cloud brocade robe suddenly changed. The monarch fire of the void Linkong surrounded his body, allowing him to detect the existence of enemies from the slight fluctuations of space. The moment the yellow-robed old man moved, he sensed something and wanted to stop him. However, it was already too late. Clang! A huge flaming ruler suddenly smashed down from the sky. Its momentum was like thunder as it directly brushed against the yellow-clothed old man's shoulder. The latter's reaction was swift. His palm smashed forward, wanting to block the attack of the huge ruler. Boom! Before the old man's palm and the huge flaming ruler collided, a Taoist figure suddenly appeared in front of him like a ghost. A simple punch was thrown out. The monarch flame on his fist roared. In an instant, it penetrated through the origin chi armor on his body layer by layer, and ruthlessly struck the old man's abdomen. Puff! Intense pain instantly spread throughout his entire body. The yellow-robed old man's eyes were about to split open. He spat out a large mouthful of fresh blood. His abdomen seemed to have been pierced through, and it was difficult for him to breathe. His body flew backwards with a loud bang. You're really courting death. Xiao Yan, who was standing in front of him, was completely unharmed. Red Dragon's brows twitched. He was also secretly furious at the yellow-robed elder's recklessness. He was also shocked by Xiao Yan's sudden speed. What level was this fellow's movement technique at? After sending the yellow-robed elder flying with a punch, a cruel smile appeared on Xiao Yan's face. He looked at the alchemists in front of him and suddenly had a new idea. Everyone, since the heavens have sent you here to kill me, I will let you witness the might of the heavens. After saying that, Xiao Yan spread his arms. The yin-yang origin qi in his body began to surge along his specific meridians. At the same time, strands of starlight began to shine on his palm. Although the arts of synchronization of the star domain and the star punisher weren't complete, the star sky tablet had once said that it would teach him 2 other techniques. Perhaps it was because of the moon heavenly pen, but since the star sky tablet had not mentioned it, he naturally did not ask about it. Tens of thousands of miles away from the battlefield, between the sects that were surrounded by mountains, on the highest peak of the profound extreme sect, Zhou Yuan was wearing a green brocade robe. When he closed his eyes and focused his mind, he suddenly opened his eyes and raised his head to look at the void. Spiritual light surged within his eyes as he carefully felt the flow of the origin qi in the void. After pondering for a moment, Zhou Yuan suddenly stood up. It was the star domain arts of synchronization. Who was borrowing the power of the star domain? After pondering for a moment, Zhou Yuan narrowed his eyes. Without any hesitation, he stepped into the sky. After identifying the direction, he immediately rushed into the distance. What did Sect Master discover? The moment Zhou Yuan moved, many elders in the profound extreme sect sensed something. Immediately, they cried out in surprise. Over the years, nothing had caught the attention of the youngest sect master of the profound extreme sect in the past 1,000 years. Arts of synchronization. Xiao Yan, is that you? Zhou Yuan unleashed his movement technique to the maximum. In an instant, the distance of tens of thousands of miles had been reduced by half. Numerous frightening auras were also detected by him. Zhou Yuan's expression was grave as he involuntarily slowed his speed. With the help of the resources of the profound extreme sect, he had merely stepped into the 5,000 monarch cultivation realm. It was impossible for him to do as he pleased even in this star region. Rumble. Xiao Yan spread his arms. In his palm, extremely bright starlight was slowly revolving. It was as if the brightest star in the world had been gathered here. A vast qi soared into the sky, as if it had penetrated through the heaven and earth. Xiao Yan's body was bathed in stars. As the starlight shone, the endless starlight slowly rotated, as if it had crushed the stars in the sky. One after another, the sun, moon, and stars appeared. At this moment, Xiao Yan seemed to have become the center of the heaven and earth. The origin qi crazily rushed towards the former, causing the heaven and earth to tremble. Compared to the scene where he had used the arts of synchronization before, the current scene had caused everyone present to fall into a state of complete terror. This is the power of the heavens. For the first time, fear appeared on the face of the Red Dragon's spiritual master. His entire body was trembling. In front of this power, all resistance seemed to be superfluous. Be careful. The Xiaoao's alarmed cry suddenly rang out in his mind, and Xiao Yan was startled. Before he could react, the space behind him suddenly shattered. An ordinary palm slowly struck out from the collapsing space, but it was like a bolt of lightning. In an instant, the endless starlight surrounding Xiao Yan shattered inch by inch. Under everyone's shocked gaze, the palm gently pressed on Xiao Yan's back. Hong! Like a meteor, all of Xiao Yan's defense couldn't withstand a single blow, and was sent flying tens of thousands of miles away in an instant. Ignorant brat! How dare you talk nonsense about the heavens? What a joke! A cold laughter was emitted from the spatial zone. He gently withdrew his palm. In the next moment, the spatial zone was restored, leaving no trace behind. Heaven. Did heaven make a move? Yun Xiao's robe was covered in clouds. The middle-aged man's face turned pale as he spoke with a trembling voice. The aura that surged out from that palm just now almost caused his soul to scatter. It can't be wrong. It's definitely heaven. The crimson dragon swallowed his saliva. He glanced at the space that had returned to normal with lingering fear. Immediately, an endless greed surged onto his face. He looked in the direction where Xiao Yan had been sent flying and rushed over without saying a word. The rest of the people were stunned. After which, they quickly reacted and followed closely behind. In an instant, only the bright starlight that had yet to disperse remained in this place. This chess piece has been set up. Next, it will depend on whether this chess piece can eat Jiyu Changtian's piece or not. Under the heavens, Yan Che had a relaxed expression on his face. He waved his hand, and the clouds in front of him were instantly dispersed, revealing the dazzling starlight in the distance. The first volume of the battle breaking through the firmament had ended. The PS was considered to have ended the writing career of Chasing Waves today. It could be considered as the end of the book. Quote,